Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host with the biggest nose, Jay-Z Courtside, coming at y'all today on Monday, June 15th. Ladies and gentlemen, I know it happened 2 days ago, but unfortunately, I was forced to go to church yesterday. The New York Knicks are the champions of the world. That's right. The New York Knicks have won it all this year. And what can I say? What can I say? I've watched the New York Knicks. Honestly, I say the second most, but at this point, probably the most out of any team in this NBA season. I talked about them in depth throughout the entire year. You Knicks fans, you guys have heard me speak about you guys all year. And please, for anybody that thinks that I hate the Knicks, there's no reason I will be pulling for the Knicks so hard this year if it was true that I did hate the Knicks. I'm a fan of the NBA, number one. Well, number one, I'm a fan of the Pistons. But number two, I am a fan of the NBA. There's no team that I vividly hate other than the Sacramento Kings and the Chicago Bulls. And okay, no, I'm kidding. The reason why you guys may have heard me speak so ill will against the New York Knicks this year is because I knew what they were capable of, especially in February when during that 2-9 run, during that 2-9 stretch. Yes, I was very hard on the New York Knicks. I was extremely hard on the New York Knicks. And that's because I knew how good they truly were, and it was disappointing to me that they weren't playing up to their standards. But guess what? They peaked at the right time possible, the perfect time possible. And if a team peaks in the playoffs, you're going to have a very hard time beating them. And that is why I got to say one more time before we start this show. The New York Knicks are NBA champions, champions of the world for the first time in 53 years. So I would like to give it up for all my Knicks fans who I have met throughout this year. There is only one fan base that I've banned the most from my community, and they are Knicks fans. And the fact that I've banned the most Knicks fans, and yet they've won the NBA championship, there's not much you can say. You can get upset that the Knicks won, sure. But in my opinion, I think the New York Knicks winning the title is great for the NBA. Look at how many more casuals we have watching the NBA. Look how much more conversation is around the NBA because the New York Knicks won. I think them winning is great for the league. I think it's great for social media. I think it's great for basketball in general, especially because of the storylines with the players on the team. Now, I have a lot of viewers right now that are dodging today's podcast. I have a lot of viewers that are not going to watch today's podcast, and it's because they hate the New York Knicks. But for me, I was so excited for this podcast because I was just excited to talk about the winner. I was excited to talk about the Knicks. I was excited to say goodbye to the San Antonio Spurs. So let's just get right to it. All right. The NBA season's complete. Let's just get right to it. And I don't think there's a whole lot I'm going to talk about game one entirely. But let's go ahead and talk about things, because I think there is one thing I have to speak in particular about the New York Knicks, and that's Jalen Brunson, the Finals MVP. Unanimous Finals MVP, like I called, right? That wasn't a hot take. Everybody was saying, oh, it's OG, oh, it's OG. It's not OG. I love OG, the hand of OG. They couldn't have done it without OG, but Jalen Brunson is the Finals MVP. Jalen Brunson went ahead, and throughout all year, it was so funny. It was so funny because all year, ladies and gentlemen, all year, what did you guys hear me say about this Knicks team? They cannot win playing Brunson ball. They cannot win playing Brunson hero ball. Brunson dribble the ball for 20 seconds and see if they can win. They can't win doing that. And in the playoffs, they proved me right again. They dropped those 2 games to the Atlanta Hawks. And I came on here telling everybody, you cannot win playing Brunson ball. And then Mike Brown flipped the switch and started using Karl-Anthony Towns as their offensive HUD. And then all of a sudden, Mikal Bridges is getting the ball. OG Anunoby is getting the ball. Josh Hart's limited, but he's getting the ball. Cat's getting the ball. Everybody's getting the ball. You get the ball. You get the ball. You'd think there's more basketballs on the court with the way the ball was moving. And all of a sudden, they win game after game after game after game. Then they reach the finals. And you know what's so funny about the New York Knicks? Their offense was winning them all of those games prior to the NBA Finals. They were winning games because of their high-octane offense. Fast forward to the NBA Finals, And they didn't win because of their offense. In fact, I'm willing to say their offense was worse in the NBA Finals than it was in their worst stretch of the season in February. Their offense was putrid. Their offense was abysmal. Their offense was horrible. They didn't win with offense in the finals. They won with defense. This team played both sides of the floor in the NBA playoffs. Do you understand how rare that is? Defensive teams win defensive championships. Offensive teams win NBA championships. The Knicks won a championship playing both sides of the floor at one point or another, not at the same time. The New York Knicks, and I think Brunson said it best. I don't know why we start playing basketball at 9 o'clock, because they sucked for the first quarter of every game this series. The NBA scriptwriter said, hey, this script that in game one, people liked it when the Knicks fell double digits in the first quarter, and then they come back and win. Let's just repeat that process every single game. And it's truly amazing, because I just see the stat right here from Moose, my Bulls fan. He said the only two teams to win 13 straight games this season is Detroit and New York. Well, for every fan in the NBA, I think we'd rather take the New York Knicks streak over the Detroit Pistons streak. I think the Pistons streak was in November. The Knicks streak was in May and June. There's no better time to go on a 13-game winning streak. So shout out to New York, man. I think my favorite part about this game, game 5, is the fact that all year I said Brunson ball won't work. And then in game 5, nobody could score. OG couldn't score. Mikal couldn't score. Cat had 2 points. The bench couldn't score. They went, I believe, the first 40 minutes of the game without a single player on their bench scoring. And then Jalen Brunson said, don't worry. I got this. And he proceeded to score 45 points in the clinching game 5, which apparently the ESPN was throwing the stat around, which had me kind of confused. He's only the second player in NBA history to score 40 plus points in an away finals clinching game. Sorry, I had to focus on the words I was saying. Michael Jordan had 40 plus, whatever it was. I believe in Utah in 98. I think that's what it was. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not an old head. And then Jalen Brunson here dropping 45 on the road in a game clinching game. It's confusing because, you know, I think of Giannis Antetokounmpo, who scored 50 in the closeout game, but that was in Milwaukee, I guess. So it makes sense. It makes sense. Brunson ball worked on the biggest stage possible, but only in one game and one game only. Ladies and gentlemen, there was a stat that I found truly phenomenal. Jalen Brunson just had the highest scoring final series by a point guard in NBA history, which is 32.6 points per game. Now, I got to repeat myself, ladies and gentlemen. I got to repeat myself. What Brunson did, it was, okay, so Jordan scored 45 in game 6 of 1998. Thank you. I was actually born. I was born when that happened. So shout out Michael Jordan. Jalen Brunson had a bad series. He had a bad series. He had a very bad series. And I think Knicks fans will agree. He was bad defensively. He was bad offensively. And yet he still averaged the most points ever by a point guard in the NBA Finals. I would like to say this for my Knicks fans, because y'all get on my point guard for it. Inefficiencies. On the biggest stage, it doesn't matter about inefficiencies if you're winning basketball. And that's the most important keynote to take away from that final series from Jalen Brunson. Game 5 was his best game of the series. He saved his best for last. He was not only efficient, but he was ruthless, bro. He's the reason that he even won this game. Again, he's the only reason they came back in game 4. And then he's the only reason they won game 5. Jalen Brunson, when needed most, did what he was supposed to do all along. And he ended up winning the game, winning the championship for his team. And I called it after game 4, in which I said that was the best half Jalen Brunson has played in this series. At that point in time, he had only had a good quarter, and that was the fourth quarter of game 1. For the rest of the series, up until game 4 in the second half, it was bubkiss. He wasn't doing much. And you guys saw what y'all saw what the San Antonio Spurs said. They said, you know what? Brunson, you can beat us. I don't think anybody else can beat us. They said that, and that's why they stopped double teaming him. And for a second there, it was working. For a second there, it was working. They won game 3 doing that. And then game 4, it looked like they were going to win. And then all of a sudden, the Brunson burner turned on. The captain of this team turned on. And, you know, I'm willing to go so far as to say if you remove anybody from that starting lineup, the New York Knicks don't get it done. You replace McCall with somebody else. You replace Hart with somebody else. You replace OG or Cat with somebody else. They don't win this. And there's a guy named Bradley in the TikTok, and I got to give Bradley a special shout out in particular. First of all, I'm going to read you his bio before I read his message that he's spamming in the TikTok. His bio is, I'm an electrician. Sorry, I'm a electrician. Horrible grammar. It's I'm an electrician, Bradley. Sorry to break that to you. I'm an electrician, a veteran, a gentleman, a great cook, a dog owner, a golfer. Listen, if you didn't have a veteran in there, I'd say add a bitch in there too. Because he's spamming boring series, boring series, boring series, boring series. He's a Navy SEAL, so I would like to say, Bradley, thank you for your service. But please stick to golf because you don't understand good hoops. You don't understand good hoops at all. You don't. You don't at all. But thank you for your service. I appreciate you very much. But please stick to golf because basketball is not your sport. In fact, since he's got me on this topic, I'm going to go ahead and say this was my favorite final series in recent memory. And I don't think that's crazy to say. I'm not a Knicks fan. I'm not a Spurs fan. You guys know me, right? I think this was my favorite final series in years. Let's look back. Last year, we had the Thunder and Pacers, and that was fun, but can I be honest? Games 2, 3, and 4 are forgettable for me. And the fact that if I'm forgetting games in a final series, it's not that exciting. Even 5 was forgettable. Last year, the year before that, we had the Boston Celtics versus, who did they beat? The Boston Celtics beat the Mavericks. My God, the Mavericks are such a forgotten team. Wow, that's crazy. Again, boring series. It was a gentleman's sweep, an actual gentleman's sweep. They won games 1, 2, and 3, lost game 4, won game 5. Year before that was the Denver Nuggets versus the Miami Heat. Not even going to bother talking about that one. And then the year before that was Golden State versus the Celtics. Not even going to bother talking about that. The year before that was the Milwaukee Bucks and Phoenix Suns, and that one was entertaining. It was. But I'll take this 5-game series over that 6-game series any day of the week. So if we're still going, the bubble, forget about it. It was the Lakers and Heat. Year before that, Raptors, Warriors. The Warriors were all banged up and hurt. If you guys watched that, it wasn't really fun. Year before that was the Warriors. Yeah, right. With Kevin Durant. Year before that was the Warriors again. Yeah, right. Both sweeps. And then are we in 2016? Okay. You guys heard it here. This was my favorite final series in 10 years. 10 years. I was 18 years old. This was my favorite final series in 10 years. And that is no exaggeration. And this was a 5-game series. This was the most entertaining 5-game series I've watched. And I don't know. I'd have to look at all of the 5-game series. Ladies and gentlemen, the Knicks only scored, 14 points more than the Spurs all series? Was it even 14? All I've got to say is this was just absolutely good basketball. And you know what's crazy about this? And I said it after game 3. The San Antonio Spurs were leading this series for 72% of the time. 72% of the time, and yet they lost. Ori Hunter, thank you so much for the follow on Twitch. I hope more of you guys leave the TikTok and come through to the Twitch stream. Jay-Z Uncut. That's the craziest part about this. And I think Knicks fans, y'all can agree, man. I think y'all can agree. This series could have been over in 4 games. If the San Antonio Spurs had any bit of composure, the Knicks could have gotten swept. But that's if. That's if they had composure. That's if they didn't choke. That's if the Knicks didn't love playing from behind. And here's the thing. We could redo this series 100 times. And I think the Knicks still win 98, 99 times out of it. Because that's how much more dominant they were than the San Antonio Spurs. It's unbelievable. It's truly unbelievable. The New York Knicks and what they just did. Their final record in the playoffs were 16-3. 16-3. I'm sure my Knicks fans have the statistic. Where does that rank them as far as their most dominant run in history? I believe the 02 Lakers, was it the 02 Lakers went 16-2? I believe the Golden State Warriors in 2017, what'd they go? 16-2, I think, as well. Y'all got to help me out. Where does this rank in the most dominant postseason run in NBA history? I believe Karl Anthony Towns he led the NBA history in a final series with plus 250 in the NBA Finals. So are they top 3 in analytically the most dominant run? It's ridiculous. Tied with the 2024 Celtics record, number 1 in point differential. That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. That is truly unbelievable. And I think the Lakers only lost 1 game, and it was against the 76ers. I think so. Cat was a plus 250 in the entire, was it the postseason or was it just the finals? Regardless, Cat was unbelievable. It didn't matter how little he scored because he was there defensively. And can I just shout out something? When I said Spurs in 7, when I said Spurs in 7, when I said that, you guys remember exactly what I said? I said I could see the Knicks winning this easily. I said I think I want to say Knicks in 5 or Knicks in 6, but you know what? I'm gonna go with the team that has did the impossible, and I picked Spurs in 7. But I remember telling you guys the Knicks could easily win this series, and I'm not here to say that I was right or I told you so. I'm here to tell you guys the thing that matters most in playoff basketball, and that's matchups. That is matchups, and that's all that matters. That's all that matters, matchups. And what did I say? Even though I picked the Spurs, I said the New York Knicks match up perfectly against the San Antonio Spurs. Now, I know I've been talking all about the New York Knicks. I know I've been doing that, but they won the NBA championship, so I don't want to talk about the losing team just yet. My question for you guys is, can you see the New York Knicks going back-to-back? Now, I'm going to go back and I'm going to remember what I said about the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Boston Celtics the year before. I wasn't covering the NBA at that point. I was watching the NBA. I was a fan of the NBA. I was a big fan of the NBA. Obviously, I've always been a diehard for the NBA. But what I always talked about with my boys prior to covering this, I said, I don't think I can see a team beating the Boston Celtics next year. The New York Knicks beat the Boston Celtics. And that was even before Jason Tatum went down. And then with the Oklahoma City Thunder, what did I say? I picked them to win it all this year. I picked Knicks Thunder for the finals. And I was close to being right. The Thunder got beat by the San Antonio Spurs. Now, the New York Knicks. And you know what? I feel like this fits their brand. I doubted them at winning, even though I never really did. They're the one team in the last 3 seasons where I can look at and say, I don't think they can win next year. But maybe that's exactly what they need. Maybe that's exactly what they thrive on. Being down and counted out and then end up winning it all. And they end up winning it all. A lot of the TikTok is spamming one and done. And I can hear you. I can hear you when you say that. I would like to just remind everybody that the last NBA champions, the last 8 NBA champions, none of them have made it back to the NBA Finals. You got the Raptors, the Lakers, the Bucks, the Warriors, the Nuggets, the Celtics, the Thunder, the Knicks. Not only have we not seen any returning teams to the NBA Finals, but we've also had 8 different champions in 8 years. So, do we believe the Knicks? Some guy in the Discord is spamming some scam stuff. Yeah, can one of y'all mods hit him, bro? Please? Can one of y'all mods hit him? Make sure it deletes like all their messages as well if you haven't done that just yet. I would appreciate it. Now, as far as everything else goes, let's go ahead and continue talking about this team. Do I think that the Knicks can win again? Absolutely. Are they capable of it? Absolutely. Now, I'd have to look exactly at their cap and see the players that they're losing, because I believe it's Shamet and Mitchell Robinson being their free agents going into next year. But all I can say is if you look at every single team that have won these NBA championships, right? You know what they all sort of shared in common? The Boston Celtics were young. The Oklahoma City Thunder were young. The Denver Nuggets, with all due respect, had a very, very weak opponents, and they lost some of their key players in the next year. Then we'd have to look even before that. The Bucks, they were young. Giannis was only 26. He had a DPOY, 2 MVPs, a Finals MVP, a ring. He was only 26, and now here we are, 4 years later, and he hasn't even made it out of the first round. Before that, you had who won, bro? The Lakers? Yeah, the Lakers. And then I skipped over the Warriors. The Warriors were old. So when you look at all of these teams, and then you see the Knicks, this is the only team out of the last 8 championships that all of them are in their prime. They're all in their prime. Brunson turns 30. They're all in their prime. These are a bunch of grown men, and guess what? They actually played like grown men. So do I think the Knicks can go back to back? If I were to say this right now, if I were forced to pick right now, I'd say yes. I'd say yes. If you guys forced me to make a decision right now, I'd say yes. Now, 1 month from now, that could very well change. The Mikal Bridges extension kicks in. They're going to have to make a decision on Mitchell Robinson and Landry Shamet. We all know about the short guard regression. We all know about that. If I were to make a decision right now, I'd say yes. They'd make it out of the East, absolutely. But there's lots of different narratives changing up in the Eastern Conference. You have the whole Giannis situation. If he goes to Miami, I think they're a worse team than Milwaukee. If he goes to Boston, obviously everyone's going to be picking Boston. And then you have Kawhi Leonard rumors, and then you have the Trey Murphy rumors. I think all I'll say is the New York Knicks are not satisfied with one. And I don't think Brunson is satisfied with one. I think today, yes, the Knicks would go back to back. I think a month from now, my answer could change. And that's why we're not going to be doing our predictions just yet. We're going to be saving that for a little bit further into the offseason. All right. Now, I have another very important, very, very, very important note that I have to say. Okay. This goes out for everybody watching, podcast listeners, TikTok listeners, my live viewers. When I was hosting this watch party and we were all watching this, I had to mute everybody in the watch party for my own. I literally cranked everybody's volume to mute, and I was watching the celebration in silence. Because everybody, and I mean everybody, fuck the Knicks, they suck, fuck the Knicks, fuck the Knicks. They're all talking shit, and I couldn't hear, and I wanted to hear. I saw Mikal Bridges crying. I saw Karl Anthony Towns screaming with emotion. I saw Jalen Brunson choking up on his words, crying. I saw OG Anunoby not have any reaction at all. And I wanted to mute everybody and enjoy the moment. I'm not a Knicks fan, but I wanted to enjoy that moment. You know why? You know what I hated about last year? You know what I hated about the Thunder winning? And in my opinion, why I'm not a fan of the Oklahoma City Thunder, even though everybody thinks that I am. When OKC won, and I talked about it all year, when OKC won, this was them. Just aura farming, pretending to be nonchalant, not celebrating, and pretending that you don't care. And I won't hear that from my Thunder fan saying, nah, we was hype. Go watch it back. All they were doing. There was no energy. There was no excitement. Winning a championship means you are a champion of the world. It means you are the greatest basketball team in the entire world. Okay? And there was no celebration. There was no celebration whatsoever. So I literally went back and I watched every single finals celebration prior to that. The 04 Pistons. Ben Wallace with his armbands around his biceps. I'm watching Shaq and Kobe embrace even though they hate each other. I'm watching LeBron scream, Cleveland! I'm watching all of it. I'm watching Jason Tatum. I'm watching Kevin Garnett screaming anything is possible. And what I saw 2 nights ago for the New York Knicks, crying, showing emotion, that is what I love about NBA basketball. That is what I love. If you're nonchalant, like Kawhi Leonard, like OG Anunoby, like I hope soon to be Cade Cunningham, if you're nonchalant dudes like that, that's fine. You are nonchalant. But if we see what Shea does, we see what Chet does, we see what Jay Will does, all their dancing, shaking ass on TikTok, we see how we see how much pizzazz and energy you guys have, but you couldn't show that when you're holding the Larry O'Brien trophy. You couldn't show any of that those little dance moves that you do on TikTok. You couldn't do that when you won the championship. No, we know none of you guys are nonchalant, and yet you pretended to be. So, Knicks, thank you. Thank you for showing emotion. Thank you for winning the championship. Thank you. Because what I saw in that celebration, like seriously, I forgot every Jalen Brunson head bob against the Pistons last year in the playoffs. I forgot every single, oh my God, that's a foul. I forgot about Josh Hart waving at me. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. I forgot about everything I hate about the New York Knicks, and I got to just watch and enjoy each and every single one of these players. Shout out the New York Knicks. They are your 2025-2026 NBA champions. And I told everybody here, whoever wins, I'm buying the Finals MVP's jersey. So I went ahead and I bought a Jalen Brunson jersey. And the moment it arrives, don't worry, you'll see it on the wall behind me. And guess what? That's going to be behind me for the entire off season. The entire off season. Just to remind everybody who the king of New York is. Listen to me, bro. I sound like a Knicks fan. Now, we've talked about the New York Knicks, and they deserve it. And we'll talk more about them throughout the summer. But for now, we have to talk about a team that made it all the way, came so close, yet so far. And that is going to be saying goodbye to the San Antonio Spurs. We've done it for every single team that has been eliminated from the playoffs. Let's go ahead and say goodbye. It's a rather late goodbye for the San Antonio Spurs. What's next for the San Antonio Spurs? Well, first of all, everybody hates the fact that they didn't shake hands, they didn't congratulate the other team. I'll be honest, that's the one thing I liked from the San Antonio Spurs all final series. That's the one thing I liked. They're not the first team to do this. Larry Bird and the Boston Celtics, when they got beat by my Pistons, they didn't shake our hands. So when the Pistons got beat by Michael Jordan, the Pistons didn't shake their hands. I like that. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Now I know sportsmanship. I understand all that. I understand all that. But I like that kind of hate. And we saw what hate did for Wemby and the rest of the Spurs against the Oklahoma City Thunder. If Wemby's got to hate a team in order to beat them, I love that. So Knicks fans, enjoy that. You got so badly in their heads that they didn't shake hands. Knicks fans, you should be happy they didn't shake your hands. And Spurs fans, you should be extremely happy that they didn't shake hands. So, what's next for the San Antonio Spurs? Let's talk about it. First and foremost, everybody's saying they'll be back. They'll be back. They'll be back. We've said that about a lot. We said that about a lot of teams. But none of them had a 7'5" alien on their roster. Okay? What I think should be directly next, like what the Spurs should have done yesterday, is trade De'Aaron Fox. Can you con another team to take his contract? Ladies and gentlemen, I've talked about Fox all year. Quick, you're my biggest Spurs fan in the Twitch chat. You're my biggest Spurs fan. And I told you all year long, De'Aaron Fox is not, he's not going to work for this team. He's not going to work. You have to keep him this year to see if you can win, but he's not going to work. Ladies and gents, De'Aaron Fox had arguably the worst finals series I've ever seen from any player ever in my life. People are saying it's a little too early to trade him. No, you can trade. You can trade as early as they could have traded him. If they missed the finals, they could have traded him already. We've seen trades happen in the finals. You can't waive De'Aaron Fox because then you'd be paying him until 2040. I want to talk about the San Antonio Spurs. De'Aaron Fox had one good game. It was game 2, and that was it. And they still lost that game. Let's talk about their draft situation. Okay, because a lot of people may not know. They have a lot of picks. They have 7 first-round picks, which is good. They have 7 first-round picks. The big part is how many second-round picks they have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 second-round picks. That's a fuck ton. Excuse my French. That means they have 24 picks in the next 7 years. Potentially 37 picks, of course, but I'm not talking about potential. I'm talking about picks that are in the paper now, okay? And let's talk about their salaries, which I think is the most important part about the San Antonio Spurs. $51 million next season for De'Aaron Fox. $51 million. $27 million for Devin Vassell. I think that's a great contract. Harrison Barnes is coming off the books. He's going to be a free agent. Maybe they can bring him back for a vet minimum. Keldon Johnson, $18 million. Should be a good piece to trade. Kelly Olynyk's $13.5 million comes off the books. Wemby has not been extended yet. So for people asking, what about Wemby's extension? He's wait, did he just finish his 3rd year? He's eligible for extension this summer. He's eligible for extension this summer, which wouldn't hit until 2028, 2029. So they got years. They got years. They got years. Wemby is locked in for $17 million next year. Dylan Harper's locked in for $13 million. Luke Cornett is locked in for $10.5 million, which I don't know if they'll keep. Stephon Castle's locked in for $10 million. Jeremy Sohan's obviously off the books. Carter Bryant's locked in for $5 million. And then Julian Champagne's got a team option for $3 million, but in my opinion, they're probably going to extend him. I think we all agree. So now that you're looking at this team, pretty much everybody is here. Pretty much everybody. They're not losing anybody. Anybody from their main rotation in the playoffs, they're not losing any of them. So now my question to you is, what can you get for De'Aaron Fox? Now, I would like to remind Spurs fans everywhere, no matter what the trade for De'Aaron Fox, you're going to lose that trade. You are going to lose the trade. And that's what you have to know going into it. You are going to lose the trade. To be able to flip a $51 million contract, and by the way, he's making $60 million 3 years from now. I got to repeat myself. 3 years from today, he's going to be making $60 million. You're going to have to lose that trade. There's no way that can work. Now, for the Spurs, you guys might be wondering what they need. It's pretty clear. They need a shot. They need another shot creator. That's what they need. They thought De'Aaron Fox would be it. He's not. You want my honest opinion about who this team would automatically be favorites for next year if they get? Very low-key name, but he was a first-time All-Star, first-time All-NBA. He's Canadian. We've seen his cockle-doodle-doo before. Jamal Murray. I don't think he's possible to get, but I think Jamal Murray is the absolute pinnacle kind of player that you can get for this team. Therefore, it would be Dylan Harper, Jamal Murray, and then the rest of the team. Castle, Vassell, Champagnie, Victor Wembanyama, whoever. I think that lineup will be a lot of fun. They need another shot creator. And Harper can become that. He can become that. So their most important need would be a starting 4. My issue is, Who is out there? Guys, there's not many stretch fours, because something I've always talked about for the Detroit Pistons is they need another they need a volume shooter at the 4 position. They need a volume 4 at the 4 they need one. They need a volume 3-point shooter. The issue is OG Anunobys don't grow on trees. They don't. They don't. And I'm hearing Brandon Ingram in the TikTok. You want Brandon Ingram, who's arguably one of the worst playoff performers in the entire NBA. I think you could convince the Wolves maybe for a Naz Reid Fox swap. Of course, you'd have to throw in more stuff for that. But Naz Reid isn't really living up to his new contract extension. And Fox obviously isn't living up to his contract. So if you can convince a team that needs a 4, I think you could be fine. I think you'd be able to be. And you know what? Even a Rui Hachimura would be a great pickup for the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs need a better backup big. And they need another starting 4 who can shoot the 3. The issue is, ladies and gentlemen, there's not many volume 3-point shooting 4s in the NBA. There's not. Sadiq Bey's out there. He's on a great contract, so I don't know if they'd let him go. I'm telling y'all, man, it's going to be a very, 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 like, it's easy. It sounds easy. Like, yeah, we just need a volume shooter from the 4 spot. But it's very difficult, y'all. It's very difficult to just somehow look at that and say, yeah, that's all we need. They should pick up Chet. Good one, TikTok. Now, here's what I'll say about the San Antonio Spurs, okay? And I want everybody to hear me well, please and thank you. I said it all year about 2 teams in particular. The San Antonio Spurs and the Detroit Pistons. I'm going to talk about the San Antonio Spurs, obviously. The San Antonio Spurs are ahead of schedule. That goes without saying. And I've spammed this saying all year. You haven't heard me say it in a long time, but I've said it all year. The San Antonio Spurs were playing with house money. They were playing with house money in the playoffs. It didn't matter how far they went. The thing that mattered is that they improved. They made the playoffs. They won a playoff series. They won 2 playoff series. They beat the defending champions, and then they lost in the NBA Finals. They are so far ahead of schedule. Now, so for everybody that's saying, well, look at the 2012 Thunder. We said they'd be back, and they never got back. I'm sorry, but the Thunder traded James Harden. Westbrook got hurt the next year. Kevin Durant got hurt the next year. And then they choked the 3-1 lead against the Golden State Warriors. So they were there. They were there. They were. But this is not even close. Okay? Does it stop? Anytime you see they might never be back, and then you see the picture of Kevin Durant with his arms around James Harden and Westbrook, block whoever posted that. Okay? Block whoever posted that. They traded Harden. They picked Serge Ibaka over him, and then injury to Westbrook, injury to Durant, and then they choked the 3-1 lead. They have a 7'5" alien. They have a 7'5" alien. They had Dylan Harper, who's arguably one of the best players out of that draft. They had Stephon Castle, who was only in his second year. And their team is unbelievably young. So please, y'all, I'm saying if, so of course, take this with a grain of salt. If Wembanyama stays healthy, they will continue to be contenders. They will continue to be in the playoff picture. They will continue to be a potential dynasty. They are ahead of schedule. And you know what else? You know what else? You know what? I'm going to play it for y'all. I made a short a while ago. Now, mind you, my shorts are going to get much better because I hired a professional editor. But this is an old short that I edited, and I know it's not that good. Okay. But I edited this, and I want you guys to hear what I said on, what's the date? The date is, can I find this thing? Why am I clicking the short and it's not popping up? 1 second. I'm finding it. 1 second. Where the hell is this thing, man? Aha, there it is. I posted this 8 months ago. Sorry, 7 months ago. I want you guys to hear it, okay? Enjoy this moment that everyone loves, San Antonio and Victor Wembanyama. Because a year from now, once Victor Wembanyama shows that he's a winner, once he shows that he gets foul calls, that he settles for threes and hits most of them, once he shows you that he's a prolific star in the NBA, everyone will turn on him. Do you remember Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the 21-22 season? Everyone loved him. Everyone loved him. There was no foul merchant, no foul baiting. It was, look how talented this guy is. If only his team around him was good. The same exact thing is going to happen to Victor Wembanyama next season when he shows the world how good of a player he is. So I hope you guys are on this. Just enjoy Victor being loved as much as he is right now. Sorry, I got stuck on a tangent. That was me 7 months ago. And little did I know that the San Antonio Spurs would have made the NBA Finals in the same year. They already turned on him. They already did. So I'd like to remind everybody, okay? Enjoy basketball, please. Enjoy basketball. Stay away from all the noise. The New York Knicks are deserving champions. The New York Knicks dominated every single team they went up against. And it's okay to hate players because of how good they are. But to hate them because they're good, to hate them because of an ego, you just hate them because they're not you. That's all. Stop hating top players. Unless there's an actual reason why you hate them, like Luka Doncic, for example. I think he's a horrible watch at times. Of course, he's an incredible watch at times as well. Just enjoy basketball. Come to the Twitch stream, Bentley. We'd love to have you here, bro. Just enjoy basketball. And that's going to be a big thing we talk about this summer, okay? Now, this leads me to my next point. Again, Spurs fans, please. Wembanyama is going to develop a bag. He's going to learn one post move. His three-point shot is going to be more consistent. And his passing ability is going to increase as well. So Spurs fans, I wouldn't worry. Now, I have to say something important, okay? My final topic of today's podcast. We just said, what's next for the San Antonio Spurs? Well, what's next with Jay-Z? Me. I know a lot of you guys have been wondering. Jay-Z, are you going to be live this summer? Jay-Z, what's the podcast schedule going to look like? Jay-Z, what are you going to talk about this summer? Well, thank you for asking. Guys, this is my first off season since I've been covering the NBA, okay? This is my first off season. This is my first full season I've ever covered of the NBA professionally. I'm excited for this off season. We're going to be talking about a lot of different topics. First and foremost, one series that I'm going to be doing is we are going to be talking about each and every single team, all 30 NBA teams. We're going to have one specific segment for each of these teams throughout the summer. So if you're a Pelicans fan, get ready because I'm dedicating half an episode to you. All right. We're going to talk about what they need to do, what I expect them to do, and what they'll actually do. And we'll also talk about a mini prediction and what I expect them to look like next season. We're going to do that for all 30 teams. You're all going to have a dedicated episode. What else? We're going to rank the top 10 players in each position with, of course, some honorable mentions. And there will be focused on projections going into next season, as well as what happened in the past season. So we're going to rank the top 10 point guards, shooting guards, small forwards, power forwards, and centers with some projection going into next season. All right. And of course, we're going to cover the NBA draft. Of course, we're going to cover the summer league. Of course, we're going to cover all the trades, all of the free agent signings. We're going to cover all of it. Okay. Now, I would like to remind y'all, if Rui Hachimura gets picked up by the San Antonio Spurs on a Monday night, and the podcast schedule this summer is going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because that's going to be the generic schedule for these entire 125 or so days. Podcasts are Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If Rui Hachimura gets picked up by the Spurs on a Monday night, I'm not going live Tuesday to talk about Rui Hachimura getting picked up by the San Antonio Spurs. I'm not doing that. Okay? Will I make a short about it? Absolutely. But I'm not going live to talk about Rui Hachimura signing with the San Antonio Spurs on a Tuesday. But let's say Kevin Durant decides to take his talents to the New York Knicks because they won. On a Monday night, yes, we will talk about Kevin Durant signing with the New York Knicks Tuesday morning, okay? So that's going to be the basic schedule for this summer. I hope you guys are excited. We're going to be talking about a lot this summer, all right? And I'm super, super excited. And I guess all I have to say, y'all, is thank you so much to everybody who watched and listened all year long, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Spotify, whether you're on Apple, whether you're on Twitch, whether you're on TikTok. I appreciate you all so very much. Thank you for giving me precious time out of every single one of your mornings. Genuinely, it means so much to me. I'm unbelievably appreciative. I'm very excited to spend 10 more seasons together. I had a blast this season. I learned a lot about every team as well. I'll admit I was really just a Pistons fan before this season started. And now I'm proud to say I can find something I like about every single team in the NBA. And a lot of teams, I can say I like many things about them, like the New York Knicks. I love every single dude on that roster except for Sohan. I don't like that dude, bro. I don't like that guy. But I want to say thank you to everybody who joined my community. I want to say thank you to everybody that joined the Twitch stream. Yeah, and join the Discord most importantly. It's going to be a very fun summer, and I'm looking forward to celebrating it with all of you guys throughout. Again, I have to say this one more time. Shout out to the New York Knicks for becoming the NBA World Champions of the 2025-2026 NBA season. You guys earned it. You guys deserved it. Celebrate it. Enjoy it. And remember this moment for the rest of your life because you never know if it might not ever happen again. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's going to do it for today's show. Okay. Guys, be sure to join the Discord. Be sure to join the Twitch stream. That's Jay-Z Uncut on Twitch. As far as an episode goes tomorrow, we might go ahead and start our summer schedule and maybe not do an episode tomorrow. But again, if you guys want some gaming streams throughout the summer, since that's what I used to do, I'd also be willing to do those as well, whether it's at nighttime, morning time, whenever. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, be sure to join the Discord. Be sure to join the Discord to stay updated on everything related to this community. I appreciate you all so very much. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being you. And again, guys, thank you for watching / listening. And I'll catch you guys Wednesday morning. You know what? I'll probably do a pod tomorrow. I'll do a pod tomorrow. It's the start of the off season. We will be here tomorrow. We will be here tomorrow. Thank you guys for being here. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. Twitch chat, stick around. TikTok, you heard me. Come through to the Twitch, y'all. Jay-Z Uncut on Twitch.